Gentlemen, it is game 2 between the Edmonton Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche, and our coverage here on the fourth period is brought to you as always by BitBuy. Go to bitbuy.ca/TFP to get up to $50 free when you open an account while terms and conditions apply. Let's start with the big news of the day. DB, we'll begin with you and Pavel Francouz starting in net for the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, it's a big loss for the Colorado Avalanche with Darcy Kemper in net. They're a favorite. Now, you have to give the advantage in net to the Edmonton Oilers, but I'll use a line from Forrest Gump. Mike Smith's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're ever going to get. But if they start quickly, start early, and don't have to play from behind with respect to a deficit, they can win this game because now, again, I think it's an advantage, Dave, with respect to Mike Smith and net for Edmonton.
Yeah, I give Edmonton the edge as well. But, I mean, defensively, the team needs to be better. And quite frankly, the Avs need to be better defensively as well. It was a free-for-all in game 1. And I don't care if you're – look, I know we touched on the offside stuff, and everybody's been talking about it all week. If you're scoring 6 goals a game in the playoffs, you should be able to win. So toss all the excuses away. I hope it's done in Edmonton at least, because you got to focus on game 2 tonight in Colorado, in Denver. And they need to be better structured. They need to be better structured defensively. They have to be able to help out Mike Smith when you can, because you're right. You don't know what kind of Mike Smith is going to show up tonight. I anticipate a better one. But, I mean, we'll obviously have to wait and see. So for Edmonton's side of things, you know you can score against this team, but you have to be able to shut this team down as well. And with Mike Smith in net, after a loss, I'm expecting them to be at least a little bit better defensively and a lot more structured against Colorado.
We talk so much about the Edmonton Oilers' offensive leaders and their leaders leading by example. And I think after game 1, we can all agree, and a lot of people agree, their defensive leader, Darnell Nurse, needs to be better, David.
He does. I mean, the guy's going to be cashing in on $9.25 million a year starting next season. And as good as he is offensively and as good of a leader as he is in that room, you got to be able to play the defensive side of the game as well. You got to be able to, you don't have to necessarily, in this type of a player, play a full 200-foot game every shift, but you've got to be more responsible on the defensive zone and on the defensive side of things, because you know what kind of power is coming at you from the Colorado Avalanche. You're in the Western Conference Final for a reason. You've earned the right to be here, but you've got to also earn the right to keep things going. And if you're Darnell Nurse and if you're everybody defensively, not just the 60 on the D-core for Edmonton, the entire team needs to be more responsible defensively in order to beat the Colorado Avalanche and try to get this series tied up, DB, back 1-1 at Rogers Place.
It's funny, Dave, big picture. 3 teams haven't played well in the conference final with respect to their defense. We talk about structure, not only Edmonton and Colorado, but Tampa Bay as well. This is a different type of playoffs. Like, this is 2022. There's so many more offensive weapons for all these teams. So both teams need better structure, obviously. You don't want to play these 8-6, 9-6 games, but Edmonton's been here before. And if I'm Jay Woodcroft, I'm telling my team, game 1, Calgary, we were terrible. Game 2, we found a way to be better defensively. We still score goals, and we can score goals on this team. That's the one thing about Colorado. They're a great team. They're not a shutdown team. Edmonton's going to get their opportunities tonight. So if they can finish again, they have a puncher's chance to go back to Edmonton at 1-1.
And I'm anticipating a little bit more. We talked about structure for Edmonton. I'm expecting more from Colorado as well in this game. And I'm expecting a lot more from guys like Josh Manson, who are going to step up, be a little bit more physical, and try to help out your goaltender a little bit more. You're on the second string guy. You're not number 1 anymore. And you know that Edmonton can score on both of these guys. So you've got to be more responsible. I expect them to be a little bit more physical in this game. And I expect Josh Manson to play a big part in that.
Connor McDavid had 3 points. He's going to get his points, but the matchup against Cale Makar is something that interests me a lot and a lot of people. And I don't want to say it's something that Jay Woodcroft wants to get away from, because Connor McDavid is the best player in the world, but it's something that he's obviously cognizant about, Dennis. And if he can try and move Connor McDavid away from him, it's probably the first time that it's a matchup that he looks at Connor and says, okay, we can't have him up against this kid.
It didn't happen in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
LA and Calgary did not have that type of player. But to me, I think you play to your strengths. You're not going to worry about your weaknesses. I think that would be pretty something epic, I think, to move Connor McDavid away from a defender. And I agree with you. The kid's been great. So to me, I think you just throw Connor out there for 25 minutes, take your chances, and hope he can get 3-4 points, because he is going to get his goals. The key for Colorado here is, though, and they mentioned, they have to be tighter defensively against the Zach Hymans and against the Vander Kanes, the guys at the net. The net front presence for Edmonton in Game 1 was really strong. Colorado has to defend that better in game 2.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for this. It's game 2 tonight between the Edmonton Oilers and Colorado Avalanche.